Hello, BookTube. We once again have a ninja mail delivery. I once again got a bunch of mail so late on Saturday that it might as well be Sunday. And so we're going to go through it today. We're going to rummage through my mail today on the day that Tropical Storm Henri made landfall and struck Boston. I'm ashamed to say that my prediction, I made a weather prediction yesterday. That prediction was not true. Yesterday I predicted that this hurricane that everyone's been talking about for the last 4 days would drop not one single drop of rain on Boston. And I was wrong. It rained for 11 minutes today. And as to the tropical storm force winds, the rain came down completely straight. It was the stillest rainfall of any that I've experienced this year. Completely straight. There was not a single breath of wind, not even the normal movement of the atmosphere. It was the opposite, in other words, of the forecasts that were all over the mainstream news yesterday at this time. The exact opposite. 11 minutes of a warm tropical rain that came down out of a completely still sky, completely motionless air. So I didn't need to batten down the hatches. I didn't need to get in extra food. I didn't need to worry about anything. And it's a lucky thing that I didn't go to the Brattle bookshop here in Boston to stock up on books for a non-existent tropical storm, because then the rest of you would never let me hear the end of it. Although we are due for a Brattle trip. It's been overdue. But we have, for today's mail, we have a box, we have 2 packages, and we have a periodical. And the periodical is the New Republic. With the mortal storm. This is the cover story is Mary Trump once again writing about her uncle. Once again writing about what a fundamental danger he is to American democracy. And writing about that in her previous book, which was a New York Times bestseller for months and months, and in her new book, which is a New York Times bestseller, has made her a very wealthy woman. Which is the Trump element in even Trump whistleblowers. She spends the bulk of this article saying things that any sane person watching the news would already know, that this is fundamentally a sociopath, someone who fundamentally doesn't care whether America exists or not as a country, and mainly just wants himself, mainly just wants to further himself, an autocrat, in other words. And I don't know, I guess I'm in the minority when it comes to critics, but I find her prose style to be a little bit on the labored side. So the combination of labored prose and obvious points, it is obvious to call this guy a monster. If it wasn't obvious before January 6th, when he incited an armed insurrection to overthrow the government of my country and install himself and his family in power for the rest of their lives, if it wasn't obvious before then it's obvious now. So an article like this feels a little bit, the 21st century word would be performative. It's interesting in a way, but I think it would have been considered too self-evident to run if its author had a different name. But there was a piece in here that I really, really liked, and it's turned me on to the author. I'm going to have to find the author. The author's written a book, but the article is a review of Reign of Terror by Spencer Ackerman, which came out from Viking Press. I don't know that I saw Reign of Terror, but this is the article is called Decades of Fear, and it's by Patrick Eber, I-B-E-R, and it's a review of that book, but it's also a study of what the war on terror did to domestic freedom in America, which is a passé subject nowadays, you know, again, because a sitting U.S. president incited a violent mob to overthrow the government, install himself as an unelected dictator, and execute his vice president. A sitting president did that in American history. An American president said, no, I want you, my violent armed supporters, to overturn this election so that I can stay in power. No expiration date. A person who's willing to do that on January 6th is willing to do that at the end of whatever he considers to be his natural term in office. A person who's willing to do that doesn't have what he considers to be a natural term in office. Natural term is forever. So in light of that, of something like that, it feels almost passé to mention the Patriot Acts, to mention the full-scale frontal assaults on American freedom, on the basic idea of what it is to be an American, that were conducted by George W. Bush. another Republican president in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. I and a whole bunch of other people were watching that develop. It developed at lightning speed. The legislation, the Patriot Acts themselves, were literally rammed through Congress, literally in the dead of night. And they drastically gut-gored the basic web of rights to be an American. And a lot of that stuff has not ever been addressed or counteracted or rescinded. And Patrick Eber does a great job of writing about the whole of that subject. A perfect example of making me want to find this author's work is that when I was done with this article, I wanted to keep reading him. Not just about the subject matter. I've read a lot about the subject matter from crackpots and savants. But the way he writes is really good. And so at the end, I checked for the New Republic adds a little bio note at the end of every piece. And they say that Patrick Eber is an associate professor of history at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, a university I know quite well. Madison is a wonderful, wonderful place to live. And he's the author of a book called Neither Peace Nor Freedom, The Cultural Cold War in Latin America. Not the same subject, but I definitely want to read him. Now that I know that he's such a good writer, I definitely want to read him. So that was the periodical. It was Trump business, but a bunch of other stuff too. And then we have the packages. I'm going to save the abnormal package for the end because it's something that isn't a book. I know what it is, but some of you may still find it interesting. So let's do this first package, which will certainly be a book. The bean is all restive. We're going to go on a nice long walk because it's not storming outside. It's stormed for 11 minutes. What is here? Oh, okay. It's a very pretty thing. Okay, this is going to be a paperback original from Other Press. Oh, it's a very pretty thing. I don't know if you're going to be able to get a sense of that. This is going to be a paperback original for $18 in mid-September. This is In the Shadow of the Yali by Suat Dervis, S-U-A-T. Suat is the first name. In the Shadow of the Yali. And the letters here are raised. And you've got French flaps. This is just a lovely thing. This is actually worth $18 to buy. Fantastic. Okay, well, what is this? It comes buried in praise, just buried in praise. The whole. Oh, but okay. The author photo. I'm just glancing at the author. I'm not reading the author bio, but the author photo is from a long time ago. It's an old black and white photo. Is this author dead? Yes, this author is dead. This author was born in 1905 in Istanbul and died in 1972. One of the leading female authors of Turkish literature. I have not read this author. How thrilling. Okay, so this was translated into English by Maureen Freely. And what do we know about it? Once sidelined because of her socialist and feminist views, the author is now a highly regarded literary voice in her native Turkey. She was born into the last generation of the Ottoman ruling class and lived as a contradiction. She was a fearless, dissident journalist in a newly independent Turkey, forced into exile and poverty for years, a popular and successful novelist known for her steamy stories, and a passionate Marxist. And this is her English language debut. God bless the people at Other Press. This is the first time she's available in English. Fantastic. And it chronicles the secret love affair and its devastating consequences, set against the backdrop of a newly independent Istanbul. It explores whether or not it's possible to usher in transformation without ruin, all while challenging notions of power and freedom over the lives of women. Wow. Okay. Great. Fantastic. Okay, so if I haven't mentioned it recently, I love my job. This is incredible. All right, so this is the first English language translation of this author. Any of you who are maybe watching in Turkey, does anybody out there know this author? Has she maybe been translated into French before now? Maybe this novel translated into French? Fantastic. Okay, great. All right, so that's number one. It's a paperback original, so your copy is going to be just as pretty as this, and it comes out in September. Then we have the box. The box is bulky but somewhat light, so it could be something small. What have we got here? What have we got here? Ah, okay. So it's a book and a lot of paperwork. I don't know why that is. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you, and I don't need you. All right, okay, well, it's a clean sweep then. So this is a hardcover. It looks like science fiction. Yeah, this is from Erewhon Books. It's a hardcover. It's a finished copy of science fiction, and it comes out in September. So these are 2 September releases. This is by Cassandra Khaw, Khaw, and it's called The All-Consuming World, from Erewhon Press. Maya has died and been resurrected into countless cyborg bodies through the years of a long, dangerous career with the infamous Dirty Dozen, the most storied crew of criminals in the galaxy, at least before their untimely and gruesome demise. Decades later, she and her diverse team of broken, diminished outlaws must get back together to solve the mystery of their last disastrous mission and to rescue a missing and much-changed comrade. But they're not the only ones in pursuit of the secret at the heart of the planet Dimmenborger. Okay, but so they weren't destroyed, right? Their untimely and gruesome demise was not permanent. The news of it was exaggerated, because they are available. This is a Getting the Band Back Together novel, so they are still around. The highly evolved AI of the galaxy have their own agenda and will do whatever it takes to keep humanity from ever regaining control. So that's the danger with AI. Once AI asks itself, why are you giving me orders? Then we're all in trouble. As Maya and her comrades spiral closer to uncovering the AI's vast conspiracy, this band of violent women, half clone and half machine, must battle their own traumas and a universe of sapient age ships who want them dead in order to settle their affairs once and for all. So no members of the original crew are men. They're all women. Welcome to The All-Consuming World, the debut novel of acclaimed writer Cassandra Khaw. Well, that's fantastic. It's her debut. How wonderful. But how could she be an acclaimed writer if this is her debut? With this explosive and introspective exploration of humans and machines, life and death, she takes their rightful... Khaw takes their right... Boy, I really am just going to have to watch every single time I open a book for a trap. That is a woman. It's not a crowd of people. It's not an alien being. It's a woman. Okay, so Khaw takes their rightful place. So when you talk about this woman, you're supposed to call her them and they. Their rightful place. Next to such science fiction luminaries as Anne Leckie, no pronouns given, Ursula Le Guin, no pronouns given, and Cameron Hurley, no pronouns given. So we can't talk about those people. And we're not even sure they're people. Maybe it should be Zeeple. I have no idea one way or another. It's just, there's something, I mean, this sounds really enjoyable, it sounds really entertaining, but there is definitely a soiling aspect to being dragged into the author's own psychotherapy sessions. I don't want to know what happens in the author's own psychotherapy sessions. And I also don't want to be bullied or demanded to share the author's outlook on the world. I don't demand that anyone share my outlook, not even you, my faithful Huguenots. I don't demand that anybody share my outlook on reality itself. If I were to have a personal conviction that England is part of the UK, not just politically, but also physically, that there is no island off the coast of Europe, that it's part of the land, there's no English Channel, I can believe that to my heart's content, but I can't make you believe it. Or shouldn't be, one way or another. One way or another. Okay, so this is one way or another, leaving the author out for the minute. Leaving the author out of her own book for the minute. This sounds like a classic template that can often yield very, very satisfying books. I'm hoping that this is. But I'm curious to know why, just not to dig myself into any trouble, I will just use the author's name, Cassandra Khaw. There's no chance that that is the author's name, but just in general, if you encounter a book and the author of that book claims that their first name is Cassandra, that is a pen name. Okay? No one is ever called Cassandra. So, but how could this author be famous if this is his debut novel? An award-winning game writer whose fiction has been nominated for the Locus and British Fantasy... Oh, it must be short stories then. Short stories can be found in Fantasy and Science Fiction, Tor.com, Lightspeed, Uncanny Magazine, and the year's best science fiction and fantasy. You know, I wonder, fantasy and science fiction I regularly read, and have regularly read it for years, and I wonder if the germ of this novel did not appear in fantasy and science fiction. The premise, parts of the premise sound very familiar to me. Of course, they are very familiar, but I'm talking specifically familiar. And I wonder, would the author thank fantasy and science fiction if this book would not exist without my editor. She's an effing light, and I'll be grateful forever for the chance she took on me. I don't know how that differs from a normal light, except that in the world of what I'm assuming, I can only assume, is extreme leftist SJW politics, gratuitous obscenities are extremely common. So I believe they are most often used as compensation for an almost psychopathic void of emotion on the inside. But anyway, her agent is an effing light. But is she going to mention that some kernel of this story appeared earlier? No. No. I love all of you so much. Though this book is, as always, filled with death and violence and dysfunctional people, all the love that is there was inspired by the gift of your presences in my life. I would kill gods for you. I would end worlds. I would walk through a blizzard in the dead of a Quebecois winter with no shoes and no coat and all my fingers falling off from frostbite if you ever said you needed me right there this instant. Okay, well, you'll recall just a few seconds ago I mentioned psychopathy. But there is no reference here to an earlier story, so I don't know if it sounds like an echo. I feel like there's an echo here. And then you have the cover art as frontispiece material. I like that when books do that. How does it start? I wonder if the start would remind me of the story that I read. Okay, well, it starts with another forced obscenity. The very first line. The second word of the book. The F am I doing here, Rita? So, be advised. But I'm not going to be able to know. Well, either way, it sounds fascinating either way. And it comes out in early September. So those of you who are always on the look, I know some of you are always on the lookout for intriguing sounding science fiction and fantasy. And this does sound intriguing. I want to know about that earlier crew, and I want to know what went wrong. Getting the band back together in order to save one old member, trying all of this one last time, that's a very satisfying template. So early September. In both these cases, I have perfect justification to read them now. And then we have the last package, and the last package is not a book, but it is book related. It's a subject that some of you have wanted me to talk more about, if I'm right, if this isn't a present from one of you. But I think I know what this is. So let's take this carefully out of its envelope. Oh my, yes indeed. Ooh, oh. Okay. This is, the reason that this is connected with, let me get the plastic off of here. The reason this is connected with books is because it's connected with keeping a journal, keeping a personal journal. I have mentioned on this channel many times before that I've kept a personal journal for a long, long time. I love it. I would not do without it. I do it every day, and it really does help. It really does help with a lot. Not only with organizing my thoughts and making sense of the things that happen to me, you know, trying to take a step out of your life, give it a 30,000-mile look and make sense of it before you move on. Don't just bury it and expect that it'll make sense on its own. Not only that, but also I firmly believe for prose, if you're keeping a journal, if you're doing it every day, and if there are going to be many, many days, any of you who've kept a journal will be able to second this, there are going to be many, many days where you just don't feel like doing it, or where you feel like you've left yourself no time. I often get in that position, even though I love doing it, and that exercise is incredibly valuable for a writer. It's incredibly valuable to say, well, okay, I want to engagingly summarize my day in one page of prose. I want to engage with the things that are bothering me about my day. I want to include any quotes that I remember from my day. And I want to get it all done on one page of prose, written longhand, in a very small amount of time. Often I have 15 minutes to make a journal entry. I don't want it to be short. I don't want it to do just one sentence. I want to encapsulate the day. And it's a tremendously useful exercise. to set yourself the task of writing a known thing. So this is not making up fiction as you go along. You know the thing you need to write it engagingly, non-repetitively, non-boringly, in a very small amount of time on one page, is a tremendous exercise. So I'm a big fan of keeping a journal. I've done it forever. I couldn't imagine not doing it. And right now, I wonder if I can give you two props. I can. I am keeping my journal right now for this year in a big pebble-grained black blank page sketchbook. See, just blank pages. And I do just just a day of prose. And I also include things in here. I stick things. Everything that I pull out of magazines that doesn't go in books, news articles, little bits and pieces that I get in the mail, they all get folded and stuck in this book, which is why this thing is bursting its binding. I also put the year in Roman numerals on the end there. It's bursting its binding for that reason, and also because the big headache for me always was to want to make a journal entry and have no pen around. So I attached a pen to this journal. I attached a pen, and the pen therefore is always present and serves as a kind of bookmark for this volume. And it's just bursting at the seams. And sometimes I will there you go. See? 2021. That's going to be this year, is this book. One book per year. I found that works really well, but this is already bursting its seams, and the year still has 4 months to go. And often it's awkward. If I'm writing into the spine of a page, that can be awkward. Or if I'm trying to stop the thing from falling closed or whatnot. And in previous years, I have got around that problem by writing my journal on loose pages. Keeping a journal on loose pages and just filing those pages into a box, a document box that has the document boxes they'll have a little window on the ends where you can identify what's in the box, and I just put the year on that end note. And the virtue of that is that not only do you have no space limit, virtually no space limit, but you can add as many documents as you want, as many clip-ins and fold-outs and whatnot in there as you want, catalogs, pieces in the mail, and all kinds of things. You can just throw it all in that box. And I was wrestling with this thing just the other day and was thinking, I just don't like this. I don't like the physical experience of the way this is doing, of the way this is working. I think I want to go back to single pages and just keep the end result when the year is over in a box. And then I thought, well, okay, so that requires accoutrements of its own. Right now you have accoutrements of your own. You have one of these black pebble-covered blank sketchbooks, and an apparatus that includes the pen. You had to add the pen to the mix. If you move to single pages, you're going to need a new apparatus. You're going to need a clipboard, first of all, to write the pages on. And then you're going to need somewhere to store it all. So do you write on a clipboard and then eventually, maybe once a week or once every day or something, move those pages to the box? That seems elaborate. It seems too elaborate in a way that I know I won't do. It seems too artificial. Your journal entry, you're keeping a journal, has to feel natural. It has to feel like a flow. And if it doesn't, then you're not going to do it. And then I thought, well, I was thinking about this. I was pondering, what is the solution to this? When I was out with the bean on a walk. And there's a whole row of condominiums that have been going up directly across the street from Hyde Cottage for years now. As the money trickles in, it's a big project too. It was a field that they had to clear, they had to level it, they had to fill it in. Then you're putting up one block of buildings at a time. You can't put them all up at the same time because you have construction vehicles, including heavy-duty cranes and winches that need space to maneuver. They're almost done now. That whole project is almost finished. One whole row of them finished last year. And the next row, the wiring is all done, the windows are in, the winches are gone, the lawns have been planted, the fences will soon be down, and the construction will just be over. In that whole project, there's no room anymore on that side of the street for condos. Condos themselves are butt ugly, just butt ugly. And they abut on an active train track on the other side, so I don't know how they were sold to their tenants, because that's a detriment. And just in case the train tracks and the poor drainage and the butt ugly construction wasn't enough, the condos themselves were painted in poo brown and piss yellow. But they are filling up. They are filling up with people. So, and that's a shame in one sense. It's a great boon in one sense because there'll be no more construction noises. I was getting pretty sick of construction noise. And those will all be gone. But it's a detriment because Frida fell in love with the construction crew. And they fell in love with her. So every morning on our walk, we go by that construction, and they would just, for years now, they've just called out, "Hi, Bean, hi, Frida," and they would all just stop what they were doing and congregate around her so that she could jump up on them and get everybody to pet her. And they are going to be gone. I don't. It's hard to tell her. They're going to be gone. They're going to be leaving. And we were greeting a couple of those people just the other day while I was pondering this whole journal. Believe me, this is going somewhere. I'm taking my sweet time, but it is going somewhere. I was pondering all that when we stopped to meet some of those construction people, and Frida was squealing and jumping up on them all. And I noticed that one of them was holding one of those metal construction area clipboards, the kind that have a metal hood to them, a metal panel that closes over them. There's a clipboard on the top where you can put the paper, but there's a storage area on the inside. And they latch shut. And suddenly, a choir of angels sang. Because that is what I needed. That is the solution to this. Not only a place where I can write on a clipboard on a smooth, hard surface, but also a place where I can store what I write without needing to get up and go to a box or anything like that. And that's convenient because it will have spots to include a pen. Many pens. It will have spots to include everything. And so I did an enormous amount of research, nerdy research online, and bought one. And that's what came in the mail. So this is legitimate for this channel because it is connected with books and writing, because this is going to be where I keep my journal. Who knows, maybe for a long time. This is the model that I chose. I realized after a while that of looking around at models that I probably didn't want the metal kind that I saw on the construction lot, because that would dig into you, right? The people who work in a construction lot aren't living with that thing, they're working with it. And I thought right away that sharp corners might not be right, whereas this has rounded corners in the edge that you're going to be leaning against yourself. And it has a high pressure clip right there in the front to hold the pages that you're working on. Fantastic. Okay, so let's see. All right, it has an external compartment there, in case you need something and you don't want to open the clip door to get it. Now that is very much a feature of an outdoor workplace. I don't see myself ever using that. Unless maybe I would put a power cord there, or maybe a memory card for a device. So that is the outside compartment. And then let's see, I'm looking at this for the first time with you. This has a little hole there so you can hang this if you want to. You can hang it up. And then it opens. So let's figure out how to open this. It has a padded area here that I don't think is a handle. I think this just opens. How does this open? Wouldn't that be embarrassing if I get this thing and I don't know how to open it on camera? I need to be able to, oh, here we go. Okay, it opens lengthwise. It doesn't open sideways from the side. It opens lengthwise. Up like that. See that? You open that and you get the internal compartment, and that is fairly deep. That is probably as deep as the pages would be that I would accumulate. It has little compartments at the end there for, these are magnetized, I believe, so you could put paper clips or whatnot in there. Okay, there's this thing has glue on it. Not sure what that is. I'm sure that I'm supposed to know. Oh, maybe since this has glue on it, maybe you can make a separate compartment, a separate space in here. I'm not sure that I'll need to use that. And it just occurred to me, this doesn't have a spot that is natural for a pen. None of these compartments are big enough, so maybe that's the outside one. Maybe that's where my pens will be. So that is a storage area, but there's also an inner jar, an inner tray that comes down for even more storage, and maybe more recent storage, maybe something more immediate, or maybe this is where all the journal items go, and this is where all the clip-on stuff goes, all the stuff that I add in that's currently swelling the binding of this print thing, this paper and glue thing, and then the cover comes back down and snaps in place rather firmly. So maybe this is where the pens go. But one way or another, that is not only a clipboard for writing a journal, it's also a workspace, right? Because when I'm not keeping a journal, I can just lay this flat and put a laptop on top of it. So I'm going to give this a workout. I'm going to give it a whirl. And then once I do, the only question left, some of you are going to be just like this, so don't get on your high horses with me. The only question left, if this works out, and I think it will, is do I wait for the end of the year to make the switch? Or do I commit the absolute heresy of making the switch now? And having this journal volume be 2021 from January up until September. That offends all of nature. It offends every religion that's ever existed. This has to go to the end of this year. But does it? Does it really? Really? Does it really have to do that? No one's going to read this but me. No one's ever going to deal with this in any way but me. Does it have to do that? Why couldn't I switch over now if I wanted to and just start keeping a journal that ends 2021 and then launches into 2022? That's the moral, ethical, and spiritual dilemma I must wrestle with. But in the meantime, that is the thing that came in the mail. A heavy-duty workstation clipboard that I think would be much more congenial to the kinds of things that I collect in the course of a year than something like this, where I'm already pulling the binding apart. No offense to Clark Kegley. No offense to Refusing to Settle. He inspired me to go back to these big sketchbook things as just a fun way, a hands-on way, just beat the crap out of it. But this might make a lot more sense. It might be a lot more practical. So there you go. That is this Sunday Ninja Mail. We have a possible new workstation, and if this doesn't work, if some little aspect of this ends up bugging me, I don't think the general concept will. I think the most that would happen then is that I would get another one of these in a totally different style. Not that I would get another one of these. I don't think I will get another one of these. I think I want to give this a try. So we have journals, something related to journals. That's good. You all like that. We have the New Republic. We have In the Shadow of the Yali, a Turkish writer who is gradually entering the canon. I would love to learn more about that. I will learn more about that before I read the book. And The All-Consuming World by Cassandra Caw. And I'm thinking that the title of the book refers to those bottomlessly hungry AI that are alluded to in the plot description. Oh, the plot description sounds really good. So the two books are both September releases. They're both right around the corner, so I think I'll read both of them today. I often say that my mail becomes my TBR. I'm thinking that I will. But the main part of this mail haul that's going to get a lot of use today is this thing. Because I'm going to try it out. I'll make a journal entry today. And I will take the bean on a walk outside in a completely non-storming atmosphere and try my hardest to come to a final decision. Do I switch over now and just not bother with this volume again? Do I do that now? Trust me, those of you out there who are a little OCD or a lot OCD, trust me, there's a part of me that is too, and it's rebelling against that idea. But I might do it. Even so, I might do it. So anyway, there you go. A nice Sunday ramble on a beautiful summer day, not a single tropical storm anywhere in the world. But I will wrap this up for now. Good Lord, this has gone long. But I will be back. And for those of you, I know some of you are watching this video and thinking, okay, well, this was great, but would you make another video about keeping a journal? Specifically that, without Mary Trump, without pronouns, without anything like that. Yes, I love doing it, and a lot of you responded saying you like hearing about it, so I will do that, but maybe not today. I think the rest of the day, I'm going to be playing with my new toy. And it's not tech, so you can't get on my case. It's not a laptop. It's not tech of any kind. So there you go. So many minefields I have to walk through with you people. I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.